right. You
And
might get
Rod, before
another
we get
note.
started, can you hear me okay?
We can, sir. And with that, I would like to wait one more minute. It's
Oh,
just now
you're on
9
mute.
o'clock. And um, wait one more minute.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I had mine muted. Rod, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just switched microphones to a slightly better one, so just wanted to make sure you didn't spend half an hour sitting in silence.
Okay, and I'm hoping I'm going to try to see where we've got folks there. All right. And with that, I think we're at 9:01. I'd like to get started. Good morning and welcome to this Augustan Society lecture. We've got our president, Vance Whippo. Dr. Whippo is with us. And we've got our secretary, Jessica Har Har Harwell there. Yeah, I was like, all of a sudden she moved. Someone else signed in. I'm like, where did Jessica go? Jessica Hartwell and myself from the board. I think that's it for the board. We've been trying to do these lectures once a month. We are hoping to have one scheduled in April. The other one we will be scheduled in May. That's Dr. Simon Elliott talking about a Roman topic. He's a researcher out of England. And then we've got others, usually the first or second Saturday of the month is what we're shooting for. We will try to post it on our Facebook page, which I hope some of you follow, the Augustan Society. And the Society is interested in heraldry, genealogy, history, royalty and nobility, and orders of chivalry. And so today we get the opportunity with the Grand Master of the Order of Saint, I'm going to say it, I would in German, Joachim.
Perfect.
Okay, because I trust me, sir, I've listened to 3 or 4 different pronunciations this morning. I'm like, I'm gonna go German. And so and we're very fortunate to have the Grandmaster with us, coming to us from Toronto, Canada. So very good for that. What I'm going to ask is let him do his presentation, and then there'll be a time at the end for questions. And in that, it's sometimes the best. Make sure your microphone's muted, and that way we can proceed with that. So. With that, sir, I'm going to let you step in and introduce yourself and your order. Thanks again for being with us.
Oh, well, thank you, Rod, and thank you to Dr. Vance Whippo for the kind invitation to be with you today. It's always fun to talk about, but it's also a bit of a challenge because it makes me kind of gather my thoughts into a coherent whole. And I've been Grand Master of the Order since 2007. It's kind of the water that I swim in, and so it's a bit of a challenge sometimes to try to encapsulate everything of the Order's last 270 years since its founding into a brief presentation. So I hope I'm going to do justice to it, and I just never get a chance to talk and have some questions at the end, so I'm very happy to do that. So excuse me. So do I have control here? Can I dive right in?
I will make you the host, sir.
Okay, we'll dive right into my presentation. And oh, and I am the host now. So host tools. Let me share my screen. Now, can everyone see my cover page? No, I can't see anyone when I do that.
No.
No,
No,
sometimes it
can't
takes
see
a
a thing.
second. Oh, let me just go back here and make sure I'm using my Zoom tools properly. Oh, okay, host tools. Let's try this again. I think I'm sharing my screen.
Are you talking?
Not yet.
Okay, there I found the right button. My apologies. Share, and the magic should be happening.
Looks
Yes,
good,
we
Doc.
can see it now, Grandmaster.
Okay, that is better, and full screen. There we go. So again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the equestrian, secular, and chapterial order of Saint Joachim. So you're going to get a little bit of history. You're going to get a nobility. You're going to get some heraldry. You're going to get a little bit of everything that the Augustan society likes. So let me just start moving quickly through. So we call ourselves, well, actually, we've been called by others, the first modern order of knighthood, and people are calling us that as early as the as 1800, because as you'll see, the order itself has gone through some changes in name, but basically has held the same philosophy since its founding 270 years ago. So we were established on the 20th of June, 1755 in Bohemia, now with the Czech Republic, by 14 nobles, distinguished military leaders. And it was originally created almost on a lodge basis. It was created as a secret society called the Knights of the Order of Jonathan. They changed the name to the grand name of the Defenders of the Divine Providence in 1767. And this was because a Polish king, Stanislaw August Poniatowski, survived a well-known at the time assassination attempt. He was kidnapped and they were going to assassinate him, and he was delivered from that. And they thought this was a sign of divine providence. And then, finally in 1785, the order changed its name one more time to the Equestrian, Secular, and Chapterial Order of Saint Joachim. And the name itself has a lot of significance because equestrian, chivalry, a knightly order; secular, because as you'll hear in a minute, that we were not created as a religious order; and chapterial, because we're governed by a constitution, a charter, and we are not. We don't belong to any particular dynasty, noble house. Some of our early documents reflecting our name change. So we have the statutes of the Jonathan Order from 1764, and then the Ritter Order, the knightly order of the honor of divine providence in 1773, and finally a cover page from our Book of Regulations from 1787 with the final name. It's a little grand. In German, the translation is the worldly or world-renowned Order of Knighthood of Saint Joachim. And some of our early grandmasters, our first one was Prince Franz von Sachsen-Coburg-Saalfeld. He was the first grandmaster and the founder of it as well. So he was a Saxe-Coburg. The Saxe-Coburg-Saalfelds merged eventually with the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas. The Saxe-Coburg-Gothas are maybe more well known as the royal family of England. Victoria and Albert were both Saxe-Coburg-Gothas. Our second grandmaster, Franz von Xavier von Montfort. Montfort was interesting character. He was a ruling leader, spent all of his money, bankrupted his county, on spending money on his library and alchemy. And then we move into the Leinigans. And we had three successive Leinigans who were grandmasters. Now, we were considered the first modern order because we had a couple of unique characteristics. We were, from the beginning, Catholic and Protestant, and most knightly orders were one religion or the other. And Europe was famous in the 1700s for having wars the wars of succession were about Catholic and Protestant princes, who was going to rule various principalities, especially within the German states and between Austria and the Spaniards as well. But we, from the very outset, had both Catholic and Protestants as members. And we were dedicated to religious tolerance because they saw the terrible consequence of religious wars in Europe. Also for mutual support and for the care of widows and orphans of war. And what you see here are a couple of early examples of our insignia. The one with the blue ribbon is the earliest one, with the initials VFSC, which stand in Latin for trust, but be careful who you trust. And you see the all-seeing eye of God, which was very, very popular during the Enlightenment as the center of the medallion. And the other one, the one with the skull and crossbones, everyone loves this one. This was the woman's order. The skull and crossbones was particular to women, and it was a reminder that beauty is fleeting, but the traditional values of family and dignity were forever. So it was a bit of a memento mori. Every once in a while, some of our members say we should bring that back. It looks very like we'd be pirates. But men, as you'll see, didn't get the skull and crossbones. They had a knightly helm as a hanger, and in the center of that one, you see Saint Joachim. So some of the unique features from the outset that the Grand Master was elected by members. We were a democratic order in that way, but we're not too democratic because the Grand Master is only elected once, and then the Grand Master generally it's a lifetime election. I'm hoping that it's a long term in my case. It's not dynastic. Although it did kind of bounce back and forth between the Saxe-Coburgs and the Leinigans for the first 150 years. Our membership wasn't restricted to nobles. Um, we embraced Enlightenment ideas. So, remember, this is the 1750s. The Enlightenment is in full swing. The French Revolution hasn't happened. And there's lots of talk of brotherhood and equality and all of those sorts of good things. So we embraced those as core values of our knightly order. And we are still today, dedicated towards tolerance, not just religious, but tolerance in all kinds of things in society. Another unique thing is women were admitted as full members as early as the 1700s. And our documents say that they were perfectly able to serve as commanders of commanderies back in the 1700s. Now, we're mistaken frequently for being a Masonic organization, and we're not. Although, because we were we embraced Enlightenment ideals, a lot of the same ideals that are common in Freemasonry made us attractive to them. We even had Rosicrucians, and later on, the real Illuminati, not the ones who everyone think are running the world from their base in Antarctica. We actually had some Bavarian Illuminati later on who were members of our order. And the other thing, as we said, we're not a noble order, although we certainly had our fair share of nobles in it. We admitted people based on their merits, people who ennoble themselves through their work, through their service, which was a pretty radical idea in the 1700s. And we've always been an international order as well. We've attracted members from all around the world. Everyone likes to see the bling. Some of our early insignia. You'll see the cross in the top left corner with the black knight's helmet on top of it. That was the men's cross, and Saint Joachim in the center. There's an illustration below it of a slightly later version of our cross. You can see the helmet a little bit better there, and our breast cross, and several examples of our breast cross there from the about 1800. There, we still have you'll see later on, we still use basically the same insignia as we did 200 years ago. And you can see one of our mottos around it, Deo Principi Legi. So God, the law, God, our prince, and the law. Now, if you've been around long enough, you've been through a few eras. The Napoleonic era was quite tumultuous for our order. When it wasn't Napoleon, it was the French revolutionary forces as they were raging across Europe. They came into Leiningen and conquered Leiningen, and they threw our Grand Master in a Parisian jail, where he actually ended up dying in 1798. A little bit later, the lands that belonged to the Leinigans were given to Napoleon's brother-in-law, Joachim Murat, the famous cavalry general. He was created the Duke of the Burg, and there's, depending on who you read, Murat supposedly usurped the Grand Mastership of the order. He took it as part of his possessions along with the land and gave it out. Now, there were two orders of Saint Joachim going at that time. The son of our Grand Master fled along with our Grand Chancellor or Vice Chancellor. He ended up in Sweden, and they ran the order out of there as very much an anti-Napoleonic order. they gave, as we'll see in a minute, they awarded some of Napoleon's greatest enemies our order. At the same time as you can see a picture of Julius von Soden, who was our Grand Prior, who stayed behind, and he sucked up to the French and started giving our order to a lot of French generals and friends of Marat. To the point where some English, Prince of Bouillon was given it. He was England's spy master in the Channel Islands, and he turned it down at first because he thought he was fighting the French, and he heard it was a French order, and we reassured him that no, it was not a French order. It was for people who didn't like Napoleon, and so he ended up accepting it. But curiously, some of Napoleon's marshals and generals wore our insignia right through the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy. So here are two French generals, and you can see one, Richter, is wearing our breast cross, and the miniature that's closest to it is our Knight's Award on a green ribbon. And you can see General de Beauveran is wearing our cross on a rosette ribbon. And they wore these, and they were given permission both by Napoleon to wear them, and they were also given permission by the Bourbon restored monarchy to wear them, and they wore them right into the middle of the 1800s. So when we opposed Napoleon, our vice chancellor, Levet Hansen, he went to school with Horatio Nelson. And he thought it would be a good idea to award him our cross and make him a Grand Cross of the Order of Saint Joachim. And so he did. He wrote to Nelson, said, we'd like to award you this. Nelson needed to get the approval, as at that point he was Admiral of the Blue, I think. He had to get the approval of the English College of Arms and King George III to wear our cross on his uniform, and he did. He received approval to wear it, and the photograph is the actual jacket that Nelson was wearing at Trafalgar when he was shot by a French sniper. He died in this jacket. The bullet hole is still there. If you go to the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, it's on display, and the bottom cross is his Order of Saint Joachim. And he had what are called tinsel versions. They were embroidered with wire because the metal ones were too clanky and too difficult. And he had several versions of it. There's a few loose ones in the collection of the National Maritime Museum as well. We have a connection with the United States as well. In 1783, the order wrote to George Washington and said, we'd like to make you and 11 of your closest friends members of the order. At that time, it was still called the Order of Divine Providence. And Nelson wrote back some lovely letters. They're all in the Library of Congress. I think a few of them are online at our website if you want to read them, where he was quite pleased, quite impressed. But he said he needed the approval of Congress. And Congress said, no, we're not letting you wear that. It sort of smacks of European nobility and royalty, and that's not what the new republic is about. So Washington wrote a very nice letter back to the order saying, I've been commanded to decline membership in your order, but I really appreciate you thinking about me. And that was sort of used by Congress to leverage popularity for their brand new order, the Society of the Cincinnati. Now, in the 1800s, as famously has been said, the rumors of our death were greatly exaggerated. If you read some of the writers who were writing in the middle 1800s, they said the order disappeared around, depending on who you speak to, 1812, 1814. But our Grand Prior continued until 1831. And as we saw, we had French generals who were still wearing our order well into the middle of the 1800s. But the Duke Ernst Saxon-Coburg and Gotha, who lived until 1844, continued to award the Order of St. Joachim. And there are some letters that we have found written in the 1800s where he's continuing to award our order to various people. And his son, Ernest II, still listed KG, which was the postnominals that came with our order. He lived until 1893. And we continue to appear in guides to chivalry and protocol and that sort of thing, like Debrett's, well into the 1900s. And a curious thing, our ceremony, and the one we still use today when we're investing new knights, it's quite a nice ceremony, appears in a French Masonic ritual. And we don't know how it got there. We don't know if it was adopted during Marat's time, because Marat was the Grand Master of a branch of French Masonry, but it is word for word there. It's male and female participants in it, and it's called the 35th degree of the Chevalier of Saint Joachim. And I found a handwritten version of it in the archives of the United Grand Lodge of England in London. So it's quite interesting to read and see it. Apparently, it had a secret handshake, which we don't have anymore, but it has a lot of the Masonic trappings of wandering around a lodge and knocking on doors and things. So in the 1800s, we continue to have rights. Now, the order's always had a pretty small membership, which I think is one of the reasons that historically we kind of come in and out of people's consciousness. We are also, between wars and all the rest, we moved around a lot. We changed grandmasters because it wasn't necessarily dynastic. So a lot of our records have been lost. But the wonderful thing about the internet is we're finding more and more of our original documents from this period that we thought were long lost. Here's a strange illustration that we can't really even explain. So Ferdinand I, the Foxy Ferdinand, the Bulgarian Tsar, who was a Saxe-Coburg, is shown in this cigarette card from 1888 with the Order of Saint Joachim prominently displayed. I've actually spoken to relatives of the Saxe-Coburgs about the Order of Saint Joachim and the ongoing association with them. And they say, oh, yeah, we know all about it. We'll have to dig around in the castle archives. We haven't come up with anything yet, but there still seems to be in the Saxe-Coburgs a relationship with the Order of Saint Joachim that that disappeared, as we'll see in the 1900s. So the 1900s. One of the things that we believe, and we're still trying to figure out, is that Duke Karl Edward of Saxe-Coburg, who was sent to sit on the throne of Saxe-Coburg by his grandmother, Queen Victoria, was likely our Grand Master for a period of time that bridged 1900 into the First World War. Now, Karl Edward, interesting and tragic figure. He was sent from England to sit on a German throne. World War I came along, and England said, okay, well, you're one of us, obviously. And his response was, you sent me here to be a German, and I guess I'm going to be a German. So he was on the wrong side of the First World War. And in the Treaty of Versailles, he lost his lands, he lost his money, he lost pretty much everything, which made him a fairly bitter man. And he got immediately involved in right-wing politics in Weimar, Germany. First with the Stahlhelm, which was the paramilitary veterans organization. And when that was rolled into the SA, Hitler's stormtroopers, he became an officer in the stormtroopers and famously showed up for the funeral of King Edward VII, wearing full stormtrooper uniform, parading down the mall in London behind the casket. He was a bad boy. He also, we think, took over the Grand Mastership of it, but the order itself didn't like that very much. And Hitler didn't like international orders, certainly not ones that were dedicated to tolerance. So all the orders were banned in Weimar, Germany. So in 1929, before Hitler came to power, the Order of St. Joachim was already reorganized as a politically neutral organization, and we rejected any part of Freemasonry. Even though we were never part of it, we said it explicitly in our documents. And when the orders were made illegal in Nazi Germany and in Italy, then the Order of St. Joachim, our records say, the members went quiet. They stopped meeting, they stopped doing anything, but they still maintained social connections. And some of them actually in Italy and in Germany were part of the organized internal opposition to fascism. Once the war was over, the order was reorganized again in 1948 under a reorganization council. They decided they did not want to have a Grand Master at this time, which was not unusual. We have had, because we are chapterial, we don't get our fons. We'll talk about, I'm sure we'll talk about a fons. We never really had a fons. Our first Grand Master was the son of a duke, but he never ended up being the duke. He was never a reigning monarch of the duchy. We have had reigning monarchs, reigning dukes who have been Grand Master, but our authority comes from our charter. It doesn't come from a noble patron. So and we operated early on in the 1700s. There were times when there was a gap of 4 to 5 years between the election of Grand Masters, where the order continued to bestow the insignia, include members, and operate until a new Grand Master was elected. So in 1948, they decided, no, we're going to reorganize without a Grand Master at this point, and they're going to be under a reorganization council. In 1988, the order decided maybe we'd like to have a Grand Master. And Helmut Brandl-Falkensee, an Austrian who was a heraldry expert and a number of other things. He was married to a Wittelsbach, the reigning family of Bavaria, was elected Grand Master in 1988, passed away in 2007. And after he passed away, we convened a council. There was a vote, and I was elected Grand Master. So that, just some of our documents. So here's the cover of one of our documents from 1948, and you can see the seal of the Supreme Chancellor of the Reorganization Council of the Order of Saint Joachim, and you can see the insignia that we're still using there. And this came up on eBay at one point. It's amazing what you find on eBay. This is actually a certificate making somebody a Grand Cross in 1953. And the people who seem to be members in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, a lot of poets, a lot of artists, a lot of heraldic artists, a lot of writers, as well as other members of society, seem to be the core of our membership at that time. Now, the fons, we talked a little bit. Are we a real order of knighthood? Well, how many angels dance on the head of a pin? We've always been the bad boy of chivalric orders, and we've been like that since the very beginning. So our critics generally say we don't have a fons, that our chancellery moves around, that we have members who are not noble, that we have women, that we mix religions. These were all criticisms that were leveled at the order at one point in time. And we've been declared extinct so many times, but we're still here. There were times there's an article that was written by somebody who was writing a poison pen letter about somebody else who was a member of the Order of Saint Joachim and kind of tarred the order. They were trying to tarnish his reputation. So he said, "Oh, Order of Saint Joachim, if you've got enough money, you can be a member." So it's not really real. Oddly enough, there was another Guy St. Clair Sainty wrote 20 years ago that we couldn't be a real order of knighthood because we don't charge enough, so you can't win. We were at one point banned by the Vatican because we're ecumenical. And I just, here's a little article from 1828 that sort of puts this in a nutshell. It says that we owed our foundation to no crowned head, but it's been recognized in Great Britain and abroad as an order of knighthood. And it mentions that Lord Nelson was one of our members. So we have been repeatedly organized. We've been recognized. We've been recognized by England, by the Holy Roman Empire, by Prussia, Austria, Hungary, Poland, Russia at different times. And this is official recognition from the reigning monarchs. And the English College of Arms itself had a look because Nelson couldn't accept it and wear it on his British naval uniform unless it was deemed to be a genuine order of knighthood. And the King's warrant is deposited at the English College of Arms that gives him permission to do it. And the illustration is actually the last form of Nelson's armorial achievement. And you can see suspended from the green ribbon on the right side is our insignia.
Right. We've got your white chest of drawers beside me.
Oh, hello. We got somebody.
Keep that fold up thing because I like that.
Oh, here. I got somebody talking.
Yeah.
Just really
Simon Langston.
Okay, sorry.
Here, just gonna... All right. So anyway, and the other thing too is if you had one of our knighthoods in England before they banned foreign knighthoods generally in 1813, you were entitled to the honorific Sir in before your name as a member of the Order of Saint Joachim in England. Oh, I got. Let me just move ahead. There we go. So, and here's just another, this is, I'm not sure if this is Debrett's or one of the guides, but it says, here's a list of people who have received various foreign orders of knighthood, First Order of Malta, and you can see underneath there the Order of Saint Joachim, which includes Nelson, the nephew of Nelson, the Prince of Bullion, who I talked about, the Spy Master, who was a Rear Admiral of the Blue, Charles Imhoff, and a number of other Englishmen. And since this group is interested in heraldry, I thought I would show you how our arms, our insignia is displayed on other people's arms. So when you become a member of the Order of St. Joachim, and this is the tradition today as well, that you are entitled to put our cross pendant to your arms. If you are a knight, you put it pendant to your arms. If you're a knight commander, you get the riband that extends further up your arms, and you can put a green cross behind your shield as well. So this is one of Baron von Muffel, who is a knight commander of the order, and we actually did manage to buy this at an auction. It's quite an impressive document from the order. So the order today, about 300 members, a little over 300 members. We're in about 42 countries. We're organized in commanderies, Canada, United States, United Kingdom, Austria, Germany. We have subcommanderies in the Scandinavian countries. We are, and it's a fairly active membership, and it's mobile. We like to go and visit each other's commanderies for our various investitures and events. And today, we are open to all faiths. We still are. We've expanded it from just the, Protestant and Catholic. We have a lot of Jewish members, Muslim members, Hindu members, Sikh members. We have, all faiths are represented here, and we are very socially progressive and tolerant. In all those senses. I know DEI is a sensitive topic these days, but we certainly represent that. We do have a highly selective admission process based on people's accomplishments. Whether those are personal, we like to generally put a lot of emphasis on people's charitable work. And we don't just exist to dress up and enjoy each other's company. We raise money for charity. So our grand chapter, our central group, has raised about almost $500,000 for charity in the last 10 years. And our individual commanderies have their own projects. And our projects tend to be around veterans charities, refugees, homeless, and other food charities, and widows and orphans of war. So the modern bling. So this is what our insignia looked like today. We don't have the knight helmet or the skull and crossbones anymore on our neck cross, but we still have Saint Joachim. People ask about Saint Joachim. I should probably pause here. So Saint Joachim, why Saint Joachim? Saint Joachim doesn't appear in the Bible. He's in the apocryphal text, but a very popular saint. And if you look at it, there's all kinds of Catholic churches and schools named after Saint Joachim. So Saint Joachim was, according to the apocryphal texts, the non-canonical Bible texts, he was the grandfather of Jesus. He was the father of the Virgin Mary. And you can look up the story of him, but he was an old man who didn't think he could have children. So he was very, very generous. He's known for his charity. And he was rewarded with, in very late life, a child who ended up being the Virgin Mary, according to the apocryphal text. He wears a green robe, he carries a staff, and he is, again, he's known for charity. And you can see our breast cross on the left. It hasn't changed an awful lot in 200 and something years. And at the bottom is just a selection of some of our commemorative medals. I won't go through all of them. You'll see at the far end is the American Commandery medal. It has George Washington on it to commemorate our he didn't become a member, but we did have friendly correspondence with him. So, we're a fairly flat hierarchy. We only have, you come in as a knight expectant or a dame expectant, you move to knight, and most of our members will stay a knight their entire lives. If you take on an organizational role or a senior role in the order, you might become a knight commander. I think we only have 14 of them at last count. And Grand Cross is really for senior serving members of the order itself, and we only have a handful of those. So unlike some orders that have 15 different ranks, and you pay a little bit of money to go up each rank, we don't do that. We're fairly flat hierarchy when it comes to it. And like I say, most of our members will stay knights or dames throughout their entire career in our order. We have a uniform. It's based on the original uniform that was described in 1802. It's cut a little bit for modern dress. Red with white facings and a green collar, and a white vest. And a lot of members, it's optional, but a lot of our members choose to wear it because it looks pretty snappy. We appear in popular culture. For a little order, it's pretty surprising that you'll see us. There's Sharp's rifles. The French bad guy is wearing our order there. Blackadder. I don't know if you like Blackadder, but Lord Melchett, the Brigadier General, is wearing clearly our order on his mess kit, and even on the Simpsons. That's a Nelson uniform, and that is clearly our star that is being worn on the Simpsons. So we do get around. I'm more than happy to take questions, go back over anything, but thank you very much for paying attention, and I'm going to leave it there. I'll turn it over to our moderators to organize the questions. So thank you. Thank you for paying attention.
Thank you. That was actually quite enjoyable. We were enjoying it here on our big screen TV, so appreciate that. We have 56 participants, and what I'm going to suggest is that either put the questions in the chat, or if you could raise your hand. We have Todd Sparks going, do you know anything about the persons involved in the reorganization of 1948?
We do. They are, here, let's see. Am I still screen sharing? Let me see if I can go back. You can see their names. It was an interesting group of people. The order in 1948 was again international. It wasn't just a small little German or Austrian group. A number of the people who were looking after it were, as you can see, some of the names at the bottom of the screen. They were Spanish. Don Alexander Le Castro. They were. It was a very international group that was involved in doing it. There wasn't any. As far as we can tell, the Saxe-Coburgs were not involved anymore. That sort of ended. The last Duke of Saxe-Coburg, who was involved with us, was Karl Edward, who had his more than flirtations with the Nazis. He ended his career with them as the president of the German Red Cross during World War II. He died about the same time as the reorganization. So the idea is that he was sidelined for all that time, and then a group of Germans and Spanish members of the order reorganized themselves. I'll tell you a strange little aside. In World War II, we think that a lot of the order's records were still being held by the Saxe-Coburgs in their castle in Coburg. And in the offices of the Saxe-Coburgs in Berlin. A lot of our records showed up online in the archives of the Institute for Economic Security run by the FSB, by the old KGB. They were clearly looted out of Germany at the end of World War II, where the Russians crated up tons and tons of stuff. They didn't know what even they had. They just threw them in crates, figured they'd sort them out later. And some of our documents were starting to appear online. We contacted them to see if we could get copies of it, and they wanted a ridiculous amount of money to photocopy any of these documents because we pled poverty. We're a not-for-profit organization. We couldn't get them to part with or even give us facsimiles of any of our documents. So we think a lot of the pre-World War II documents are still sitting in Russia somewhere. So it's been difficult to figure out exactly what was going on at that time, and also because the orders moved around a fair amount of time. So I say, so we have these little breadcrumbs that we follow. It's a long way of saying, the Reorganization Council, it's listed in one of the documents. But from looking at them, they were a number of heraldists, and some people were clearly very interested in chivalric orders at the time, and so we get some of the names here.
Okay, so now I'm going to take the risk.
Uh-oh.
There is a question about membership, and is this an order where one is allowed to ask about joining, or does that lead to one's immediate rejection? So I volunteered to take the risk. And I also see there's some folks asking if membership is something an individual would like to pursue, a little bit about that process. And then there's a couple other questions, but let's do
Sure.
that one first.
Sure. Well, and that's an easy one. We don't recruit. People come to us organically. It's generally by referral. We do have a policy that people have to be sponsored by an existing member. But if you do not have a sponsor, you do not know somebody in the order, and they look like a good candidate, then we can usually find a sponsor for you. So no, asking about the order is absolutely not a bar to becoming a member of the order. We have our criteria are we like to see people who have done something for their in their lives, that they have sort of their philosophies and their values align with ours. I mean, again, we are a very tolerant organization. We have some people every once in a while say, I want to join your order and because I want to take back the Holy Land. And you say, well, that's really not what we're about. We're not a crusading order to begin with, and we're not a uniquely Catholic or Christian order anyway. That those people kind of self-select a little bit. But if someone is interested in joining the order, then they approach us. We ask for their reasons for approaching us. We ask for a CV. And if they look like the kind of person who we would like to have as a member of the order, then they're invited to petition. So we welcome petitions from people. If someone's resume shows that they're a gong hunter, that they have a million phony baloney titles and orders and things like that, that usually is a no. I think we turn down about a third of the applicants we get just because they're just the wrong people. And we do it as nicely as possible. But and I'll be even more open. I mean, one of the things, and I think it's on our website, so it's not a secret. It's to become a knight expectant is 50 pounds English currency. What that's I don't know what that is. US right now, call it $75 to join, and it's 50. Our annual dues are 50 pounds a year. To become a knight is 250 pounds. One-time fees, and you pay your 50. You maintain your membership. So we're not a money hunting order. We have some very generous members, and we have a surplus. We're very healthy that we donate to charity. But we are open to, as we say, we're the individuals who are interested in joining our order. But we absolutely do not go out and we don't have membership goals. We grow by about 7, 8, 9% a year, which is a comfortable number.
So there's a question, sir, about
Let me.
a question about where do you, about, you mentioned the order was banned by the Vatican. Had that ban been lifted since that time? And then there's a different question, so I want to have you answer that one next.
Well, I think I don't think it's been specifically lifted. I mean, it's very, very old. And I think the Vatican just doesn't pay any attention to us anymore. I mean, we're so small, and like I say, they've got bigger things to worry about than us. We depending on where you look. I mean, we have a lot of Catholic members. It's not. I think we were banned originally because they thought we were associated with Freemasonry. The Vatican has always had a bit of a relationship with Freemasonry that hasn't been too happy. And they thought, well, I say the Vatican at that time believed there is only one way to salvation, and it was through the Catholic Church. And since we were preaching ecumenicalism, then that was against that. Oddly enough, we still have a little trouble every once in a while. We were doing our investitures in the Catholic Church. We do investitures all around the world, and we do it in a variety of different sacred places. And the Catholic Church that was hosting us for a long time, the word came down. I don't think it was personal to us. They just said, no, you can't do your investitures in our church anymore because this is just for Catholic organizations. So we didn't take it too personally, a little personally maybe, but not too personally. But I don't think anyone's is going to be denied communion because they're a member of the Order of Saint Joachim. And after all, Joachim is a Catholic saint.
Right. Okay, and then the next one is kind of looking forward into the future. And that is, what do you see, where do you see the order in 10 to 20 years in terms of and it says of our activities and size? And this is Nick Nanos who asked that. So
Nick, I'm glad you're here. If you don't know, Nick Nanos is maybe Canada's top political pollster, and is a member of our order. And Nick, I can't see you, but I'm glad you're here. In 10 years, well, we've had slow, steady growth. I look forward to that continuing. I do expect that we have a couple of jurisdictions that have just about enough members to create commanderies. So I see a few new commanderies being established in other countries. And continue on our fundraising. Our fundraising, like I say, with a small membership base, our fundraising, we have some very generous people who we don't pick people's pockets. We don't strong arm them. We put out a general call. We're about to do a project that hasn't even been announced to our members yet about support for humanitarian aid to Ukraine. And all we have to do is put something out to our members in a general email, and the money rolls in. We never say, look, you've got to give $100 or $200. We have ways of thanking people within the order if they're particularly generous. I expect that our fundraising efforts will continue as part of our 10-year plan. And, in 10 years, I think the order will be starting to look, I'll be getting on, and the order will be looking towards the next generation of leadership as well. Not that I'm going anywhere, but my doctor says I'm good for a little while yet. But it's, it's important that we have a lot of younger members who bring a lot of vitality, and it's a volunteer organization. If people aren't having fun, then they leave. And we're lucky that we have a lot of stickiness to our members. We have some very, very dedicated members who find our order gives them a lot of things that they don't find in other chivalric organizations. I mean, we have like I say, a very flat hierarchy and a tremendous amount of fellowship. People like to be with each other.
great. I am not seeing other questions in the chat, so I'm going to just see if there's anybody on a line that would like to, if they can raise their hand, that in theory should bring them there. Okay, and then Eunice, if you could unmute yourself, you should be able to ask your question.
Yep. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sure can.
It's not really a question I have, but coming back to the question that was already asked before about whether we know anything about the people who were involved in the reorganization in 1948, and Grandmaster showed a document bearing a signature of the leader of the order at that time? Well, he was not a Grand Master because the order did not have a Grand Master at that time. So he was the head of the Reorganization Council. And you can see the signature. It's not very easy to read, but we have tried as hard as we could. And we are sure that it says Dr. Eugene Zimmermann or Eugen Zimmermann. And we have done some research and found out a little bit about him. It turns out he was a school teacher or professor, and he taught Latin, ancient Greek, and geography at a high school in Rastatt in Germany.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and
we have been able to find out some interesting details about the particular persons involved in this reorganization in 1948.
Yeah, and I'll just for everyone else, Eugenius is a member of our order, and more than that, he is also, he's a university professor and has been absolutely wonderful in chasing down obscure documents in various university libraries, things that have been put on deposit in archives. So he has found many of these things for us to help fill in the blanks, and some of them have been very surprising because early on when I joined the order, I was kind of worried about continuity, and all of a sudden, Igneous is filling in a lot of the blanks and connecting people up. Whether it's in who's who records from the 20th century, still showing that they're members of the Order of Saint Joachim. So it's been. It would be nice if there was one big volume somewhere that had our complete history. There have been gaps, but every once in a while something pops up and fills in a gap for us, and it makes us very excited. I love history, and it's a tremendous amount of fun to see these documents pop up. The digital age is good for something.
Agreed. Are there any other questions? And if not, I mean, truly,
I
Graham,
have a brief suggestion, if I might.
go ahead, Dwight.
Thank you. Thank you, Grandmaster, for your time today and your nice presentation.
Oh,
And
my pleasure. Thank you.
the Augustins for hosting this. I'm in multiple royal orders, not too many, but a few, and one of them is St. John, Venerable Order of St. John, which you're familiar with, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And one of the interesting things that organization that we just did was put together a book of heraldry and the arms of all of the members with a bow. And what was interesting is in that book at the beginning, there was a very good condensed history of St. John, the Venerable Order of St. John, but tracing it back to the Knights of Malta, Rhodes, and, Jerusalem.
Mm.
So given that you've got a few history people in this order and an amazing history, maybe consider in the future getting like Frank Blazek and others are historians and they're trained in that. Maybe consider having a summary history put together, and maybe later after that gets sort of codified, perhaps have some arms of your members in a book in the future, maybe as a project 5 to 10 years from now. That might be really interesting. That book was a real hit with the Venerable Order of St. John, and it's fascinating to read about not only the history, but the arms of the people that were in it and their bows. So that's just a suggestion for the future to consider as a project, perhaps, for the order. That's all.
And for those who enjoy heraldry, and there are we have a lot of armigers in the order, and there is. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. If you go to our website, we do have a roll of arms there, and here, let me see if I can share. Let me see if I can share that one. Just now, and it's a good idea. While I'm talking, I'm going to tell you that.
I can type. I can type it, sir.
Yeah, it's say so. If you go to the members area, the roll of arms of the order, it does show the heraldry of the order and the armigers. It's continuing to go to get more and more. I'm an armiger myself from the Canadian Heraldic Authority. We have some from College of Arms and some of the. There's a lot of countries like the United States and Germany that don't have an actual government heraldic organization. So, but we include those as well, as long as it's granted by a recognized body. We have been talking, you know, if we mentioned Frank Blazik, poor Frank, I put so much on his shoulders. He and I were talking a little while ago about a book that would show the history of the order. A lot of it's on our website, and we do have a fairly extensive history on our website for all the various periods. But we are talking about, as a project, our 275th anniversary is in 5 years. This is our 270th anniversary. We are talking about doing, in this age of instant printing, a book for our members and anyone else interested, both in the heraldry of it. We did one for the 250th anniversary in 2005. And we're saying it's time to update that, because we do have a lot more information that's available now. And Frank is in the process right now of finding a lot of our primary documents from the 1700s and 1800s, mostly written in French and German, some in Latin, and translating them all into English so they're more accessible to our members and anyone else interested. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Sir, there's one more. I'm just checking. There's one more question that's not being answered by some of your members. And it's from Todd Sparks regarding continuity. Do we know who preceded Helmut von Brondel-Falkensee in the leadership?
It
and then
was
we have
the
Paulus with their hand up, so I'll get them next.
Sure, and it was the Reorganization Council, so there was no Grand Master at that time. As far as we know, it was Zimmerman. There was a little bit of a scuffle. Most orders have them. Fortunately, we have very few of them. There was a group in England that was challenging a group in Austria for the leadership of the order, and the group in Austria, aided by a chancellor who was actually in England, prevailed, and the other one kind of wandered off. So, you know, I know the names of those people. But following Zimmerman, you know, there's a little bit of a power struggle that didn't last very long, and the order as it is now is the continuity of that group. But that was also the core group that was running it beforehand. So the other one were really kind of a small splinter that only lasted a couple of months, and then, you know, went on to do other things. So there wasn't a Grand Master. It was the Reorganization Council as a whole that governed the order during that period.
Okay. And then I have Hollis Rutledge wanting to ask a question. Hollis?
Oh, hi, Grandmaster. Thank you for your presentation today. I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to thank you for your presentation. My friend Michael Belcher, he was the one who introduced me to you all, and I've been part of your Facebook group for a while. And the one time that I really wanted to attend the investiture that y'all had here in San Antonio, Texas, I happened to be on business in New York City, so
that's too bad. It was
that.
that was a great investiture. I don't want to make you feel bad, but you know, our American cousins put on a good show. That one, you know, we've done that, Philadelphia and Washington in the United States, and they're always great events. And this year, just to make people feel a little envious, the UK investiture is going to be actually the dinner is going to be on board the HMS Victory, Nelson's flagship, because we have a special relationship with the commander of the HMS Victory, which is still even though it's in dry dock in a museum, it's still a serving ship of the line in the Royal Navy. We will be having a very special dinner in Nelson's cabin at that is the weekend of October 31st. So we do get to do some fun things.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more. I know Michael's been telling me all about it for a while now, and I'm actually you're in Canada, so my wife is Canadian, so my kids are all Canadian, and when she retires in 5 years, I am very much looking forward to moving up north. I've had my fill of Texas.
Well, come in the summer, otherwise you'll turn around and go back.
Oh yeah, you know, her folks are getting up in age, so we're actually going to be moving up there so that we can spend time with them. She's from a very tiny town, Marshall, Saskatchewan. So. Oh,
okay. Saskatchewan's a little ways away, but I've spent some time there. It's very flat there. It's like.
Yeah, she told me.
Well, you'd be most welcome.
Thank you.
Are, as we approach the hour, is there any other questions of the Grand Master? I'm not seeing any, sir. Truly, this has been a delightful hour. Quite enjoyable. Covered a broad history, chivalry, all those things, heraldry, genealogy, everything that I think the Augustan Society has in its bailiwick. We appreciate this. We appreciate the effort. And I do see someone asked if there's any members in New Zealand. I also saw that the Facebook group you can ask to join. So that might be a thing for folks here who are wanting to learn more. The website is remarkably open and quite a lot of information there. So Grandmaster, it has been a true privilege. I thank you for your time this morning. Any final words?
Oh, well, I just wanted to thank you, Rod, and the Augustan Society for this kind invitation, and particularly Dr. Vance Whippo, who is a knight of our order. I just invite anyone, like I say, to have a look at our website. We're always updating as we get more little bits and pieces that we can add to it, because I say I love the history. And if anyone wants to reach out to me personally, then my email address I think is on the website. It's grandmaster@stjoachimorder.org. Please, by all means, if you have further questions about the order, the history, or anything else, please reach right out to me. I'd be more than happy to hear from you. And I appreciate everyone's attention today. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. I hope everyone else has too.
And with that, folks, we will wish you absolutely all a very wonderful weekend. Thank you again. We can do it this way or however you want to wave to the Grandmaster so he knows that we appreciate it. A lot of people are saying that in the chat. And definitely check out their website. And if you have an interest to pursue such an effort, please do so. All right, with that, take care. And I think, Grandmaster, you're the one that has to sign us off, or give me back the host, and then I can close it out.
If I can figure that out, then I will. Oh, Ed McNabb raised his hand.
Oh,
Ted, are you still there? Maybe we
I'm here, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for organizing today's session.
Oh, well, thank you, Ted. And Ted is our commander of our Ottawa area commandery and soon to be the commander of Canada. So thank you very much. And let me, it's been up. Oh, there we go. It's up at the top here. Let me. Okay, I have to let everyone go. And well, people might just have to hang up on me. This is
Yeah.
I won't take it personally if anyone decides that they just want to leave. All right.
Folks are slowly signing off.
Okay.
I'm gonna kind of hang with you to the end, sir.
Sure.
Because
Yes.
then I can check the.
Oh, there we go. I got my screen back again. All right.
Okay.
And oh, people want to stick around. Oh, there's host tools. Finally found host tools. All right, here I'm about to end the evening, unless the afternoon, unless Rod, you wanted to continue to chat.
No, that's fine, sir. Go ahead, and then
All
I
right.
will go check to see if the recording actually made it to the cloud.
Okay, great. Well, thank you once again, and have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.